Thanks, Maiko. Thanks, Alyssa. I saw the word Undaunted here, the name Undaunted. Standing here in front of you, as you can imagine, is rather daunting. When I think of, no doubt, the events that have taken place on this floor area quite recently, and certainly back in history, there were terrific scientific minds. This is not one of them. And I'm far more used to talking about interest rates and deposits and lending money to companies than I am talking about and listening to some of the cutting edge technology that many of you are developing and that many of you are backing and financing. So I just want to say we're very proud to be joined with you and this organization, and we're all very proud of you and should be proud of yourselves. So thank you for that sort of unscripted opening. I do have some notes and I'm going to refer to them because there's a few facts, figures, comments in here that I don't want to miss. So bear with me when I shuffle my papers slightly in an old school way. So yeah, I am Stuart Tait. I run the commercial bank, and commercial banking at HSBC means that we support businesses of all sizes. And it's anything from pre-seed, a startup, perhaps like many of you in the room here today, but right through to some of the world's largest corporations, governments, big funds, and others. So it is very broad. And importantly, we bank some of the UK's most innovative businesses. 3 years ago, we purchased Silicon Valley Bank. When the parent in the US failed, we bought the operation here in the UK. I'm proud to say that that's part of our business. It's thriving, it's growing because of great minds and great entrepreneurs like you. Now, we support the Greenhouse as a philanthropic partnership because accelerating climate solutions, and importantly today, widening access to all the opportunities that are out there is good for society. That's why we consider it philanthropic, but it's also essential for the long-term economic resilience of this country and other countries around the world. And it maps to two of our key philanthropic pillars. First of all, nature. So backing innovation across areas such as soil, oceans, materials, food systems, and biodiversity, but also the pillar of financial literacy. And that's something we take increasingly serious. This is about helping first-time technical founders build the entrepreneurial skills so that you can take your ideas from lab into the market. And we're always keen to help you with that. As Michael said, we've supported Greenhouse since 2021, and a bit of an announcement from us today, we've renewed the partnership for 2026 and 2027. So that's a signal that we very much like working with you all. That means we'll be supporting 4 more cohorts. That means 80 additional startups over the next 2 years. So we're very happy about that. Greenhouse is a great example of what happens when you combine world-class research with founder talent and a network. In our organization, we talk a lot about network, but when you put all that together, that's when you can open doors. The program's alumni, which started long before we came onto the scene, has raised over $1.3 billion in follow-on funding and created at least 2,000 jobs since 2012. And I'm told that's a conservative, slightly outdated number, so it only goes higher and higher with all your efforts. And it's becoming more representative. So in this cohort, 6 of the 14 startups have at least 1 female co-founder. And it's a reminder that innovation accelerates when access broadens. Women-led businesses are essential to the UK economy, for any economy around the world. Provided there's the right support, these businesses have the potential to boost this economy, any economy, and that unlocks economic value. In fact, the UK government estimates supporting women businesses will unlock £250 billion of economic value, and you're very representative of that. We've launched a Women's Business Growth Initiative. We launched it in 2024. It's about helping women entrepreneurs scale their business and importantly access the tailored support that's required. We now have over 1,600 members as part of that initiative. But that's just one facet of how wider representation can support innovation. Today is about widening the scope of who gets to build the future. And we know how important access is to finance. It can't be done without it. And that's why in July of last year, we launched a new small business account tariff. Effectively, we waived all the fees for small businesses to help them get started in their business. And now, as part of the renewal of our partnership with the Greenhouse, we have another announcement today, and that is supporting the launch of the new Opening Opportunities Fund. So the insight behind this fund is really stark. We've learned that 58% of recent applicants to Undaunted's accelerator said that financial pressure stopped them committing to their startup full-time. More than half couldn't commit full-time. In other words, the talent is being filtered by people's financial background, not by the quality of their idea or the quality of their execution. And we want to change that. So the fund is going to sit alongside the existing base grant that we've spoken about. It is additional funding, and it means that founders who face financial barriers can commit to the program full-time. And we think that's a big step forward. So if we put it really simply, skills only matter if you get into the room. And the Opening Opportunities Fund opens the door into that room. So we hope we can help with further success. So while today is about the importance of innovation, clearly it's also about the importance of sustainability. And we've learned, and I'm sure you know very well, and I think the general population is learning, that the transition, the climate transition, is incredibly complex. For us, perhaps that's not such a surprise, but when you consider the volatility of the world at the moment, the geopolitical, the macroeconomic background, it should be clear that a transition like this was never going to be straightforward. But this is where HSBC comes in so that we can support our clients around the world as they transition to net zero. And what we're finding is in some areas, the transition is fast-paced. Renewables, battery storage, EV adoption, they're all moving along very quickly. But the reality is there's other areas like heavy industry, decarbonization, and clean fuels where it's much harder. That means it's much slower, and it needs a lot more innovation, and it needs patient capital. So despite all the uncertainty that's out there, it's clear to us that the business intent remains strong. Because when we talk to our clients, they do see the transition to net zero as a priority. And I think that may surprise some people. From where we sit, this is demand-driven. Businesses want to make the change. We're not pushing solutions onto them. And we had a survey in 2025 of 1,600 business leaders, 500 investors in 12 different countries, and we found that 90% of UK businesses plan to accelerate their transition over the next 3 years. Accelerate it, not slow it down. And 95% of business leaders globally now recognize that climate transition is a commercial opportunity. So our approach is to be customer-focused, to stay commercial, to be agile. And in 2025, we provided $102 billion of sustainable finance and investment globally. And it's also an important part of what we do here in the UK. Out of the 55 countries we operate in the UK, we provided just under $15 billion of sustainable finance and investments just last year. So what these statistics tell us is supported by what we hear direct from our clients. They're focused on sustainability, and they see the transition as a commercial opportunity. So the intent is there, and with better data, brains like yours, technical capabilities, we think that we can scale globally faster than ever before. But that can only be done with collaboration. That remains key. So the innovation that made solar, batteries, and EV all mainstream came from ecosystems. People working together, including research people, entrepreneurs, the corporates themselves, investors, and even policy units are all part of making this happen. But now we can replicate that across the sectors that I just touched upon that are much harder to decarbonize, and we can accelerate with the new tools that are becoming available. And it'll be the one time I mention AI, because people like me think AI can solve everything, but we have no idea how. But you do. So at HSBC, our strength, like Imperial, is really about connecting across borders and across supply chains, different types of supply chains, linking people. linking innovators to customers and projects to where the capital is. And capital is globally mobile. People will go where the projects are. And from where we sit, we can see the full system. We sit at the crossroads of world trade, and we can see tech suppliers, we see what project developers are doing. We work with grid operators, energy users, institutional investors. So we do have a very good view of what's happening in multiple sectors, segments, and countries around the world. That comes from our international footprint, especially Asia, where we had our origins 160 years ago. It helps us transfer the knowledge, transfer commercial models, because the development will differ in different markets at different paces at different times. So it's important that we share that wherever we can. So to sum up, for the founders that are in the room, the people that really matter, I think, today, it's a milestone, but this is a starting gun for each of you. Our comment, our advice, our suggestion, our guidance would be keep building, keep testing, and keep learning fast, because we need you to do that. For the investors and the corporates that are in the room, it's a simple ask from us. Please lean in, pilot, partner, procure, and help support the founders as they look to navigate all the complexity of the world so that they can scale up in the way that we would all value. And from HSBC, we're committed to this. That's why we're extending. That's why we're broadening our support. The Greenhouse, we're very proud to help widen the access through the Open Opportunities Fund, and we're committed to keep playing our part in turning climate innovation into economic progress. Thank you for listening to me. Good luck today. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.